You have felt it your entire life. A subtle gnawing sense that you are essentially different from everyone around you. Not better, not worse, just separate. You watch other people engage in small talk, get excited about passing trends, and find comfort in the crowd. And you feel like you are observing a different species through a glass wall. You mimic their behaviors to blend in, but inside there is a static, a disconnection. For years you may have labeled this as anxiety, as depression, as a social defect. You are wrong. What you are experiencing is not a flaw. It is a divergence in perception. Robert Greene, through his study of power, human nature and social masks, spent years dissecting the outliers, the individuals who possess a psychology that refuses to fit into the geometry of the mass mind. He would frame this as the path of self-mastery and strategic independence. If you are watching this, you are likely one of the few who has inadvertently stepped onto this path. It is a lonely road. It is a difficult road, but it is the only road that leads to a genuine self. By the end of this video, you will understand why your isolation is not a defect, but a qualification for a level of existence most human beings will never reach. Before we dissect the signs, you must understand the environment you are living in. Robert Greene has repeatedly shown that the majority of society lives in a state of unconscious participation. They are not truly directing their lives. They are being directed by the collective. They download their values, their fears, and their desires from the crowd. They are safe. They are warm. They are asleep. You are awake. And because you are awake in a world of sleepers, you unsettle them and they drain you. The rare personality is not rare because it is special. It is rare because the psychological price of maintaining it is so high that most people collapse trying to pay it. It requires you to hold tension, to face darkness, to walk without a map. If you recognize these following signs, stop trying to cure yourself. You are not broken. You are simply waking up. Sign 1, the burden of the shadow. You see the monster in the mirror. Most people live in a pristine delusion of their own goodness. They believe they are kind, moral, and harmless. When they do something cruel, they rationalize it. I had to do it. They deserved it. They project their own capacity for darkness onto others. The corrupt leader, the criminal, the enemy. You cannot do this. The first sign of the rare Robert Greene type is that you are painfully, almost surgically aware of your own capacity for darkness. Robert Greene has repeatedly shown that human beings are not as virtuous as they pretend to be, that beneath civility sits ambition, manipulation, envy, and hidden aggression. You understand this not as theory, but as personal reality. You know that under the right pressure, you are capable of cruelty, betrayal, and calculated strategy. You do not hide from these thoughts. You examine them. You sit with them at 3 a.m. This makes you heavy. It makes you serious. While others float on the surface of positive illusions and convenient morality, you are anchored in the deep reality of human nature. Consider the old story of the disciplined man who was asked why he seemed so controlled. He replied, "I am not pure. I simply keep my darker impulses on a shorter leash than most." The average person is a house with a polished exterior and a locked basement they never enter. You are the one who lives close enough to hear what is moving downstairs. This awareness creates a specific kind of distance between you and others. When someone tells you, "I would never do that," you look at them with quiet understanding. You know they probably would. They simply have not been tested yet. You understand that morality is not the absence of darkness. It is the management of it. Because you have integrated that shadow, or are in the process of integrating it, you carry a weight that others simply do not. You do not get easily offended because you understand the darkness from which offense often comes. You do not engage in empty moral performances because you understand that virtue is often a carefully managed mask hiding deeper motives. You are formidable not because you are destructive, but because you are honest. And in a world constructed on polite illusions, honesty feels like confrontation. Sign 2, the repulsion of the collective, the anti-mimic. Look at the way a school of fish moves. They shift instantly in perfect unison without instruction. This is mass psychology in real time. It is a survival mechanism. To be in the center is to feel protected. To stand at the edge is to feel exposed. The second sign is that you possess a deep instinctive resistance to the center of the school. When a trend sweeps across society, your first reaction is suspicion. When everyone suddenly agrees on a political narrative, a financial craze, or a social movement, something in you recoils. You feel the need to step back and observe. Robert Greene has shown repeatedly that crowds amplify irrationality and suppress independent judgment. You are not oppositional for attention. That itself would be another form of dependence. You resist because your perception works differently. You see the strings. You see how quickly people exchange autonomy for comfort. This often manifests in your life as a history of walking away. You walked away from friend groups that became toxic. You walked away from jobs that demanded your soul. You walked away from ideologies that demanded blind faith. You have likely been called aloof, arrogant, or difficult. Let them call you that. The Greeks had a story about Cassandra, a priestess cursed to speak the truth but never be believed. She saw the fall of Troy before it happened, but the masses laughed at her. They wanted to believe the wooden horse was a gift. She knew it was a trap. You are a modern Cassandra. You see the trap in the gift. You see the manipulation in the marketing. You see the rot in the institution before the walls crumble. This separates you. It makes you feel like a ghost haunting the living. You watch people get excited about things you know are empty. You watch them worship idols you know are false. The mass man finds comfort in consensus. If 1,000 people agree, he feels 1,000 times more secure. You find tension in consensus. If 1,000 people agree, you wonder what truth they are all ignoring to maintain the illusion. This trait keeps you safe, but it also keeps you cold. You cannot merge. You cannot lose yourself in the party, the riot, or the congregation. You are always watching, always the observer. This is the price of your autonomy. Sign 3, the intuitive time traveler. Pattern recognition. This is perhaps the most unnerving sign for the people around you. You have a nonlinear perception of time. Robert Greene's study of human nature identifies intuition not as a mystical gift, but as the unconscious mind processing patterns too quickly for conscious logic to fully explain. It perceives where things are going, not just where they are. You know how a relationship will end on the first date. You know a business partner is untrustworthy before they have taken a single advantage. You know exactly what someone is going to say 3 sentences before they say it. To you, the present moment is transparent. It is merely a seed containing the future. This makes you incredibly difficult to deceive. When people speak to you, you aren't listening to their words. You are listening to their intent. You hear the insecurity behind the boast. You hear the resentment behind the compliment. You hear the desperation behind the smile. It's like having X-ray vision in a world of people wearing lead masks. But this is a double-edged sword. Because you see the end, you often struggle to begin. Why start the friendship if you see the betrayal? Why take the job if you see the burnout? You suffer from the curse of the final frame. Most people live in the first act of the movie. They are excited about the setup. You are watching the third act. You are already processing the tragedy, the twist, the resolution. This creates a sense of detachment that others mistake for depression. Why aren't you excited? They ask. We just signed the deal. Because you see the fine print that isn't written on the paper yet. Robert Greene suggests that this type of personality often mirrors the role once played by the strategist, the outsider observer, the one who lived close enough to society to understand it, but far enough to see its hidden mechanics. They were feared and respected because they dealt with what others preferred not to see. In the modern world, there is no village edge. There is only the office, the internet, the city. So, you are forced to walk among people who operate on sensation. What is right in front of them, while you operate on intuition, what is lurking behind the curtain. You are playing 4D chess while they are playing checkers. And the hardest part is that you cannot explain it to them. Intuition does not have a language. It is a flash, a knowing. And when you try to articulate it, you sound irrational until, of course, you are right. Again. Sign 4, the alchemical paradox, holding the tension of opposites. The average mind is binary. It likes black or white, good or bad, friend or enemy. It seeks to resolve tension by choosing one side and destroying the other. The rare personality is capable of something Robert Greene repeatedly highlights in human nature: the ability to hold contradiction without collapsing into simplicity. You contain multitudes. You are ruthlessly logical yet deeply emotional. You are scientifically minded yet drawn to the mystical. You crave solitude yet understand human connection better than the extroverts. You are a savage and a monk wrapped in the same skin. This is not confusion. This is wholeness. Robert Greene's understanding of human development is not about perfection, but integration. To be complete, you must house your own contradictions without letting them tear you apart. Think of the ocean. The surface can be raging with a storm, but the depths are absolutely silent. You are the ocean. You can feel intense anger, yet observe it with total calm. You can be in a chaotic environment and hold a core of absolute stillness. This confuses people. They want to put you in a box. Are you an introvert or an extrovert? Are you a skeptic or a believer? Are you tough or sensitive? And you want to answer, yes, you are a paradox. And because you are a paradox, you act as a mirror to others. When an angry person meets you, your calmness reflects their rage back to them. When an inauthentic person meets you, your authenticity exposes their mask. You don't have to do anything to unsettle people. You just have to be. This ability to hold opposites gives you a power that is almost extinct in the modern world, the power of nuance. While the world screams on social media, picking sides in a tribal conflict, you stand in the middle, seeing the truth in both and the distortion in both. You understand that the troubled person is shaped by the past, but still accountable for their actions. You understand that the leader is brilliant but also deeply flawed. You do not collapse the wave. You ride it, but this is exhausting. It takes massive psychological energy to hold two opposing truths in your mind. At once, F. Scott Fitzgerald said, "The test of a first-rate intelligence is the ability to hold two opposed ideas in mind at the same time and still retain the ability to function." Most people function by ignoring half of reality. You function by carrying the weight of the whole. Sign 5. The search for the prima materia. Depth over breadth. Small talk is not just boring to you. It is physically painful. It feels like your brain is being suffocated by cotton. You do not care about the weather. You do not care about the sports game. You do not care about the celebrity scandal. You are obsessed with what the alchemists called the prima materia, the root matter, the essence, the core truth. You want to know what someone fears most. You want to know what keeps them awake at night. You want to talk about mortality, about the universe, about the psychology of power, about the nature of consciousness. This makes you intense. How many times have you heard that word? You're too intense. You think too much. Just relax. But you cannot relax into the shallows. You are built for the deep. This is why you likely have very few friends. You cannot maintain relationships that are based on surface-level maintenance. You would rather sit in silence with someone who understands you than chatter for 3 hours with someone who doesn't. Robert Greene notes that people who pursue true self-mastery often outgrow relationships as they evolve. This is not because they are unloving, but because the frequency of their existence has changed. Imagine you are tuning a radio. Most people are broadcasting on FM 100, popular, loud, easy to find. You are broadcasting on a shortwave frequency that only a few receivers can pick up. When you try to lower your frequency to match theirs, you feel like you are fading. You feel the persona, the social mask, tightening around your throat. So you stop trying. You accept the solitude. You realize that one conversation with a mind that matches yours is worth 1,000 nights out with the crowd. You are digging for gold in a world that is satisfied with plastic. Sign 6. The neurosis of the divine, the crisis of meaning. This is the sign that usually sends people searching for answers. But the therapist, unless they are truly skilled, often makes it worse. They try to fix you. They try to get you to adjust to society. But Robert Greene's understanding of human nature suggests something deeper. People often become psychologically fractured when they content themselves with inadequate or false answers to the biggest questions of life. You are not depressed in the simplistic sense of a chemical imbalance.